The mother's past and present. The mother's past and present maternal legacies. The mother-daughter relationship is a complex tapestry woven from threads of love, sacrifice, and shared experiences. Behind every daughter stands a mother, a woman with her own story, trials, and triumphs. In this chapter, we'll delve into the lives of three mothers, each with a unique history that has shaped her relationship with her daughter. Is Alisa, the trailblazer. Alice, a fierce and independent woman, grew up during the women's liberation movement of the 1960s. She was part of the first generation of women to enter the workforce in large numbers, and her experiences laid the foundation for her daughter's ambitious nature. Alisa's determination to provide for her family and her unwavering support of her daughter's dreams have created a strong bond between them. However, her unyielding expectations have also led to friction and competition in their relationship. Maya, the refugee. Maya, a refugee from a war-torn country, brought with her a wealth of cultural traditions and resilience. Her struggles to adapt to a new country and provide for her family have instilled in her daughter a deep appreciation for the sacrifices made for their well-being. Maya's stories of hardship and perseverance have taught her daughter the value of gratitude and empathy. Nevertheless, the emotional scars of her past have created a sense of detachment in their relationship. Asa and Rachel, the homemaker. Rachel, a devoted stay-at-home mother, dedicated her life to nurturing her family. Her selflessness and devotion have created a warm and loving atmosphere, but have also led to feelings of guilt and inadequacy in her daughter. Rachel's inability to pursue her own interests and dreams has, at times, made her daughter feel responsible for her happiness. Hun's inheritance of love and legacy. The stories of these three mothers illustrate the diverse ways in which maternal legacies shape our lives. Through their experiences, we gain insight into the complex dynamics of the mother-daughter relationship. As we explore their histories, we come to understand the intricate web of love, sacrifice, and expectations that binds them to their daughters. In the next chapter, we'll examine the ways in which these relationships evolve over time and the lessons we can learn from them. The daughters American-born. Growing up between worlds. For the daughters, growing up American-born meant navigating a delicate balance between their parents' cultural heritage and their own experiences as Americans. Many of them struggled to reconcile their dual identities, often feeling like they didn't fully belong in either world. Cultural ambiguity. Take the example of Sophia, whose Korean mother immigrated to the United States when Sophia was just a toddler. Sophia grew up speaking English at home, but her mother made sure to teach her Korean traditions and customs. And as a result, Sophia felt like she was living in a constant state of cultural ambiguity. She didn't speak Korean fluently, but she understood enough to feel like an outsider among her American friends. At the same time, she didn't feel fully Korean, as her mother would often remind her of the cultural norms she was supposed to follow. Found mother-daughter relationships. The mother-daughter relationship played a significant role in shaping the daughters' identities. Many of the mothers, having immigrated to the United States, carried with them a strong sense of cultural tradition and a desire to pass it down to their daughters. However, this often led to conflicts, as the daughters sought to forge their own paths and assert their independence. Rachel, whose mother immigrated from Jamaica, recalled her mother's insistence on cooking traditional Jamaican dishes every Sunday. While Rachel appreciated the cultural connection, she also felt like her mother was trying to hold on to the past, refusing to adapt to their new American reality. Navigating multiple worlds. As the daughters grew older, they began to navigate multiple worlds, often simultaneously. They balanced their American identities with their cultural heritage, all while forging their own paths and creating their own sense of self. This balancing act was not always easy, but it ultimately allowed them to develop a unique perspective, one that blended their American upbringing with their rich cultural heritage. That, summaried, in conclusion, the American-born daughters of immigrant mothers faced a unique set of challenges as they navigated their dual identities. Cultural ambiguity, mother-daughter relationships, and the need to balance multiple worlds all played a significant role in shaping their experiences. Despite the challenges, these daughters emerged with a distinct perspective, one that blended their American upbringing with their rich cultural heritage. Junwoo, the career woman. 10. Breaking free from maternal expectations. As a first-generation Korean American, Junwoo grew up with a unique set of cultural expectations. Her mother, a dedicated homemaker, instilled in June the importance of education, hard work, and family loyalty. However, these expectations often came with unspoken pressures to conform to traditional gender roles. June's mother envisioned a future for her daughter as a dutiful wife, devoted mother, and accomplished hostess, rather than a career-driven professional. The weight of cultural obligations, June's dilemma was not unique. Many Asian American women face similar pressures to balance their own aspirations with their family's cultural expectations. Research suggests that these cultural obligations can lead to feelings of guilt, anxiety, and even depression. June's experience was no exception. She often felt torn between pursuing her passion for business and meeting her mother's expectations of a more traditional domestic role. At finding her own path despite these pressures, June refused to compromise on her dreams. She recognized that her mother's expectations were rooted in love and a desire for her daughter's happiness, but they were not aligned with her own values and goals. June made a conscious decision to carve out her own path, one that honored her family's cultural heritage while still embracing her own identity as a career woman. This journey of self-discovery was not without its challenges, but it ultimately led June to a more fulfilling and authentic life. In summary, June's story serves as a powerful reminder that cultural expectations can be both a blessing and a curse. While they provide a sense of community and tradition, they can also limit our potential and stifle our growth. By acknowledging and addressing these expectations, we can break free from the constraints of others' desires and forge our own paths. For June, this meant embracing her identity as a career woman, and in doing so, she found a sense of purpose and belonging that was truly her own. Lena St. Clair, the perfect daughter. Lena's family obligations. Lena St. Clair had always been the dutiful daughter, putting her family's needs above her own desires and aspirations. From a young age, she took on a caregiver role, helping her mother with household chores and looking after her younger siblings. Her selflessness was admirable, but it came at a great personal cost. As she grew older, Lena began to feel suffocated by the weight of her responsibilities, longing for a sense of freedom and independence. Lena's mother, Elizabeth, was a complex figure. On the surface, she was a loving and devoted parent, always putting her children's needs first. However, beneath the facade lay a controlling and manipulative individual who used guilt and emotional blackmail to keep Lena in line. Elizabeth's behavior was often justified as a means of protecting her family, but in reality, it was a way of exerting control over Lena's life. As a result, Lena felt trapped, unable to pursue her own interests or make decisions without her mother's approval. Despite her resentment towards her mother's behavior, Lena continued to sacrifice her own happiness for the sake of her family. She shelved her dreams of attending college, opting instead to take on a low-paying job to help support her family financially. Her social life suffered as she devoted most of her free time to caring for her siblings and running errands for her mother. Lena's self-worth was deeply tied to her role as the perfect daughter, and she felt that if she didn't continue to make these sacrifices, she would be failing her family. In summary, Lena's family obligations had become a double-edged sword. On one hand, she felt a strong sense of duty and loyalty towards her family. On the other hand, she was suffocating under the weight of her responsibilities, longed for independence, and resentful of her mother's manipulative behavior. As Lena navigated this complex web of emotions, she was forced to confront the true cost of being the perfect daughter. Waverly Jong the prodigy. Waverly's mother. The architect of success, Waverly's mother, Joanna, was a force to be reckoned with. A self-made entrepreneur, she had built her fortune from scratch, and her drive and determination were unparalleled. However, her relentless pursuit of success had a dark side, the suffocating pressure she placed on Waverly to follow in her footsteps. From a tender age, Waverly was conditioned to excel. Joanna would spend hours with her, poring over math problems, drilling her on vocabulary, and practicing piano until Waverly's fingers ached. The message was clear: anything less than perfection was unacceptable. Waverly's childhood was a blur of tutors, competitions, and endless practice sessions, all carefully orchestrated by Joanna to create a prodigy. And one incident stood out in Waverly's memory. She was 8 years old, and her mother had entered her into a local piano competition. Though Waverly had spent weeks perfecting her piece, but on the day of the performance, she froze. Her fingers trembled, and she stumbled through the music, ultimately coming in second place. Joanna's reaction was devastating. She was furious, her disappointment and anger palpable. Waverly had let her down, and the weight of that failure hung heavy on her young shoulders. As Waverly grew older, the pressure intensified. Joanna's expectations became more specific, more demanding. Waverly was expected to attend the best universities, secure the most prestigious internships, and land the highest-paying jobs. Anything less would be a waste of her potential. The unspoken threat hung in the air. If Waverly failed, she would disappoint her mother, and that was unthinkable. Waverly's mother, Joanna, exerted immense pressure on her to succeed, conditioning her from a young age to excel in academics and extracurricular activities. While Joanna's drive and determination were admirable, they came at a steep cost: Waverly's freedom to choose her own path and make mistakes. As Waverly navigated her mother's expectations, she struggled to find her own desires and identity, leading to a complex web of emotions and conflicts that would haunt her for years to come. And Maya Su, the immigrant experience. The trans-Pacific journey, leaving the old world behind, and Maya Su's journey to America was a leap of faith, a bold move that would shape her life and the lives of her loved ones forever. Like many immigrants before her, and Mai bid farewell to the familiar comforts of her homeland, leaving behind the rolling hills and bustling streets of Taiwan. The year was 1949, and the world was in a state of flux. As the Communist Party took hold of mainland China, many Taiwanese citizens sought refuge in the United States, attracted by the promise of democracy and economic opportunity. And Mai's decision to immigrate was not taken lightly. She had to weigh the uncertainty of a new life against the constraints of traditional Taiwanese society, where women's roles were heavily circumscribed. The prospect of forging her own path, free from the expectations of her family and community, was a powerful draw. As she boarded the plane, and Mai felt a mix of emotions: excitement for the unknown, trepidation about the challenges ahead, and a deep sense of responsibility towards her family, who would be relying on her to build a better future. The long, arduous journey across the Pacific was a transformative experience. And Mai was struck by the vast expanse of ocean, the endless blue that stretched out before her like an unfurled canvas. As the plane soared through the skies, she felt her identity shifting, her sense of self expanding to encompass the vast, uncharted territories of the American dream. Upon arrival, and Mai was greeted by the unfamiliar sights and sounds of San Francisco. The cacophony of English voices, the towering skyscrapers, and the bustling streets overloaded her senses. Yet, amidst the chaos, she felt a spark of hope, a sense that anything was possible in this new world. Summary: and Mai Aishu's journey to America marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter characterized by uncertainty, hope, and the pursuit of a better future. As she navigated the unfamiliar terrain of her adopted country, and Mai would encounter challenges that would test her resolve, her relationships, and her very sense of self. Lindojong, the mother's sacrifices. Lindo's past, a legacy of sacrifices. Growing up in rural China, Lindo's life was marked by hardship and duty. As the eldest daughter, she was tasked with caring for her younger siblings and helping her mother with household chores. From a young age, Lindo learned the value of hard work and sacrifice, skills that would serve her well in the years to come. One of Lindo's most significant sacrifices was delaying her own marriage and family to care for her ailing mother. While her friends were getting married and starting families of their own, Lindo remained at home, dedicating herself to her mother's care. This selfless act not only demonstrated her devotion to her family, but also instilled in her a strong sense of responsibility and dedication. Leaving China and immigrating to America. When Lindo finally did marry and start a family, she made the difficult decision to leave her homeland and immigrate to America. This move was not taken lightly, as it meant leaving behind her family, friends, and familiar surroundings. However, Lindo was determined to provide a better life for her daughter, Waverly, and ensure her success in a new land. Sacrifices for her daughter in America. Lindo's sacrifices continued as she worked tirelessly to provide for her family. She took on menial jobs, barely scraping by, all in an effort to give Waverly every opportunity to succeed. Lindo's unwavering support and guidance helped Waverly become a talented chess player, earning her a scholarship to a prestigious university. In summary, Lindo's past in China was shaped by her duties to her family and her willingness to sacrifice for others. This legacy of selflessness continued as she immigrated to America, where she worked hard to provide for her daughter and give her every opportunity to succeed. These sacrifices would have a lasting impact on her relationships with Waverly and her granddaughter, shaping their lives in profound ways. Saiwen and June rediscovery. Saiwen's legacy lives on. The news of Saiwen's passing sent shockwaves through the Wu family, leaving June and her father reeling in grief. The woman who had been the pillar of strength, the keeper of secrets, and the embodiment of resilience was gone. As they navigated the darkest of times, June couldn't help but wonder about the mother she thought she knew. The mystique surrounding Saiwen's life, particularly her experiences in China, had always fascinated June. Now, with her mother's passing, June felt an overwhelming urge to uncover the truth about her mother's past. A journey to the motherland. In the months that followed, June found herself consumed by a sense of restlessness. The thought of staying in the United States, surrounded by the familiar comforts of home, felt suffocating. She needed to escape, to break free from the shackles of her grief and embark on a journey of self-discovery. China, the land of her mother's birth, beckoned. June knew that this trip would be no ordinary vacation. It was a pilgrimage to uncover the secrets Saiwen had taken to her grave. As June stepped off the plane in Guangzhou, the humid air enveloped her, a stark contrast to the crisp San Francisco breeze she was accustomed to. The city's bustling streets, a cacophony of sounds and colors, overwhelmed her senses. June felt like a small boat adrift in a stormy sea, struggling to stay afloat amidst the chaos. Yet, she pressed on, driven by a burning curiosity about her mother's past. Unraveling the mystery. June's journey began in the small village where Saiwen grew up. The rustic surroundings, a far cry from the modern skyscrapers of Guangzhou, seemed to whisper secrets of the past. As June wandered through the narrow alleys, she stumbled upon a small, weathered temple dedicated to the god of fortune. It was here, surrounded by the musty scent of incense and the soft glow of lanterns, that June felt her mother's presence for the first time since her passing. In the following days, June met with various villagers who had known Saoyuan in her youth. Their stories, though fragmented and often contradictory, painted a vivid picture of a young woman who had defied convention and pushed boundaries. Saoyuan, it seemed, had been a force to be reckoned with even in her early years. June's eyes welled up with tears as she realized that her mother's strength, a quality she had always admired, was not a recent development, but a lifelong trait. The revelations continued to flow as June delved deeper into her mother's past. She discovered the loss that had shaped Saoyuan's life, the death of her twin sister, a tragedy that had left an indelible mark on her psyche. June's heart ached as she grasped the magnitude of her mother's sacrifice, leaving behind the only home she had ever known to start anew in America. Rediscovery and revelation as June stood in the midst of the village, surrounded by the whispers of the past, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. The journey, though arduous and emotional, had been worth it. June had uncovered the secrets her mother had taken to her grave, and in doing so, had rediscovered a part of herself. In the end, June realized that Saoyuan's legacy extended far beyond her own life. It was a testament to the power of resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. As June boarded the plane to return to the United States, she carried with her a newfound appreciation for her mother's story and a deeper understanding of her own place in the world. Summary: June's journey to China uncovers the secrets of her mother's past, revealing a complex and multifaceted woman who had defied convention and pushed boundaries. Through her travels, June comes to terms with her grief and develops a deeper appreciation for her mother's legacy, ultimately rediscovering a part of herself in the process. The club's reunion. The date was set, the venue was booked, and the invitations had been sent out. The Joy Luck Club, a group of 4 Chinese-American mothers who had met weekly to play mahjong and share stories of their lives, was reuniting after many years. The mothers, Saoyuan, Lindo, Ying, and Anne May, had all been through so much since their weekly gatherings had ceased. Their daughters, June, Waverly, Lena, and Rose, had grown up and moved on with their lives, but the bonds between the mothers and daughters remained strong. A time for reflection. As the mothers gathered at the reunion, they couldn't help but reflect on their past. They thought about the struggles they had faced, the sacrifices they had made, and the dreams they had for their daughters. Anna Suwon, who had lost her twin daughters in China during the war, thought about the daughter she had found, June, and how she had always felt a sense of responsibility to make up for lost time. Lindu, who had been forced into an arranged marriage at a young age, thought about her daughter Waverly's struggles with identity and her own desire to break free from traditional expectations. Ying, who had lost her sense of self-worth after a painful divorce, thought about her daughter Lena's struggles with depression and her own failure to connect with her. Anne Mai, who had been ostracized by her family for marrying a poor man, thought about her daughter Rose's struggles with self-acceptance and her own regret over not being able to provide more for her. Nasa, unspoken understanding. As the daughters arrived at the reunion, they were met with open arms and warm smiles from their mothers. June, Waverly, Lena, and Rose had all grown up with their own struggles and conflicts with their mothers, but as they looked into their eyes, they saw a depth of understanding and love that they had never seen before. The mothers, too, saw a newfound maturity and appreciation in their daughters' eyes. For the first time, the daughters saw their mothers not just as authority figures, but as women who had faced their own struggles and sacrifices. They saw the sacrifices they had made, the hardships they had endured, and the love they had always shown them. Some breaking the cycle. As the evening went on, the mothers and daughters began to share stories and laughter around the dinner table. They talked about their past, their present, and their futures. They talked about their fears, their dreams, and their regrets. The mothers shared stories of their own mothers, and the daughters shared stories of their own struggles. Through their stories, they began to break down the barriers that had separated them for so long. They began to understand each other in a way they never had before. Set a new chapter. As the night drew to a close, the mothers and daughters gathered around the table, holding hands and looking into each other's eyes. They knew that this reunion was more than just a gathering of old friends. It was a new beginning, a chance to start anew and create a new chapter in their lives. The mothers knew that they had done their best to raise their daughters, and the daughters knew that they had done their best to understand and appreciate their mothers. As they looked into each other's eyes, they knew that they would always be there for each other, no matter what the future held. Summary: the Joy Luck Club's reunion was more than just a gathering of old friends. It was a time for reflection, a chance for the mothers and daughters to come together and understand each other in a way they never had before. Through their stories and shared laughter, they broke down the barriers that had separated them and began to create a new chapter in their lives. As they looked into each other's eyes, they knew that they would always be there for each other, no matter what the future held.